Whether you call it bean bags, cornhole, or just bags, one thing you gotta call it is a whole lot of fun. While the Rustlers are enjoying their hot start to the season, they know that due to coronavirus, their dream year could be gone in the blink of an eye. The sun's out and families are returning to their favorite putt-putt course, and this one is a hole-in-one. If you know anything about Great Falls Bison Athletics, you know the name Levi Torgerson. And while his time strapping on the pads here at Memorial Stadium is done, he's not yet finished making a legacy for himself on the hardwood and in the Bison record books. For most people, a weekend in Vegas means a few things. A little bit of partying, maybe a little bit of gambling, and a whole lot of fun. But for Billy Wagner, this weekend in Vegas means one thing: all business. It is warm, it is crowded, and for the first time this decade, we bring you crosstown action. Bison taking on the Rustlers.
This is a young team, this is a hungry team. Only 6 guys coming back from that championship team from last year. So the focus, a lot of it, is going to be on team chemistry. So the tournament will get underway starting tomorrow, but I heard some teams might need one more. You know what, maybe I'll just stick to reporting. All right, I'll send things back to you guys. People were wondering if Fort Benton saved anything for this week's matchup against Cascade after their offensive explosion against Ennis last week, and clearly the answer was yes. You can't talk about the Argos if you're not going to talk about Zacchaeus Darko-Kelly, the man with the thunderous dunks, but the man who's not just all about flash, he's all about putting the ball in the hoop. We showed you a lot of divisional highlights already tonight as the prep playoffs are underway, but of course we can't forget about our Class AA teams as they wrap up their regular seasons this week. Well, to quote the Six God Drake, started from the bottom, now we're here. Started from the bottom, now the whole team here. Now, I can't confirm or deny that Aubrey Graham was talking about the Great Falls Voyagers 2019 season, but it does fit. The Voyagers finished the first half near the bottom of the division, and while they are still in third place out of 4 teams in the division, they're just 2.5 games back of the Missoula Osprey for a playoff spot, so every game is crucial. Voyagers taking on the Mustangs on White Claw night. Not even sure how that's a thing. Top of the first, Victor Ruiz, he's going to smack a base hit that's going to score Quincy McAfee and put the Stangs up 1-0 at the time in the first. A couple batters later, Reniel Ozuna with a shot down the third base line and into the corner. Scoring is Ruiz, also scoring is Eric Yang, and Billings is up 3 after the first. The Voyagers, they're going to come back with a little offense of their own. Bottom first, slamming Sammy Abbott with a base hit. That's going to score Luis Curbelo and Luis Mieses, bringing the Voyagers to within 1. That game has just gone final. Voyagers walk it off with an 8-7 victory. But Tony Froelich fair, sending it back like cold soup at a diner. Almost. Looking for a receiver, he finds Teague Fought up the middle for a big pickup, but the drive stalls out just like my car. If you know anything about Great Falls Bison Athletics, you know the name Levi Torgerson. And while his time strapping on the pads here at Memorial Stadium is done, he's not yet finished making a legacy for himself on the hardwood and in the Bison record books.
Extremely competitive and very hard worker. One of the hardest workers on the team.
His coaches take any chance they can get to rant about someone they consider to be a coach's player.
Every football team needs a guy that's a go-to guy, a guy that can get the job done, a guy that you design, your offense or maybe even possibly your defense around.
Levi is the youngest of 3 Torgerson boys, all 3 of whom have come through Great Falls High and made a big impact in their respective sports.
He's the last in a fairly long line, probably about 10 years of Torgersons. They've all been very competitive, all been very successful, and he's just icing on the cake.
But for Levi, it's all about the wins, the awards, and of course, the Bison legacy.
I just want to be a kid that people look up to, and both on the football field and on the basketball field. And I think being a 2-sport athlete, that's one of the biggest beneficiaries, and because you're getting team football on one side and then team basketball on the other, and everything just comes together when you're a team player, and you just got to lead your team. Being a Bison is a huge honor, and probably just the camaraderie that we have here, and just being a bond with your team on the football field, on the basketball court, going on bus trips, in the locker room. It's just one of the best things.
His coaches will miss him, that's no doubt. And replacing a Torgerson, whether it be Levi or one of his brothers, doesn't come easy.
I guess the biggest thing is that, you always kind of knew you could. There was that one guy out there that you could count on. Whether it be offensively, defensively, special teams, whatever it was. He's proved himself to be, I don't know, in my opinion, I'm sure he's going to go down as one of the better players ever at that school. But he accomplished this year as a senior. In terms of how many times he made all-conference and all-state teams, I don't think that's ever even been close at Great Falls High.
As for after high school, Levi will be announcing his post-grad plans after basketball season wraps up.
Reporting in Great Falls, Leo Goldman, SWX.
I was willing to do whatever it takes to get back out onto the field.
On Friday, the Fort Benton Longhorns came into Belt for a matchup with the Huskies, two undefeated teams competing for Northern Class C bragging rights. Fort Benton got the 50-24 victory, but the story of the game wasn't the Longhorn shutdown defense or the high-powered offense. It was the wrapped like a holiday present elbow of Jace Thompson. Thompson hurt his elbow in Week 3 against Cascade, and after seeing a specialist, it was determined that it wasn't just a sprain.
A broken chip off and then a little fracture in there. 6 weeks for it to fully heal is what the doctor said. I was pretty devastated, definitely did not want to hear that at all. They also said that as long as we have it locked in at 90 degrees with padding on it, we were able to play.
There was a chance his final season at Fort Benton was over. But last year, the Longhorns had Max Lane, a senior who played half of the 2019 football season on a torn ACL, and then played a basketball season as well. So when Jace looked back to last year, that was all the motivation he needed to find a way to play.
It was kind of tough to sit out when Max Lane had a torn ACL, and he was playing through that, so it kind of makes me look like a baby, so definitely couldn't sit out with just a broken arm.
Yeah, he'll play the rest of the year. Hopefully we'll get to where it's pretty heavy workload again. My concern, of course, was can he carry the ball?
Jace's dad, Jory, Fort Benton's head coach, had his doubts initially. After all, he's not just looking after another player. He's looking after his own flesh and blood.
It was probably easier because I knew what his dad thought. So as the coach, I knew what his mom and dad thought, and I knew that they were both okay with him playing. And there's risk in everything in life, and he wasn't going to not play. He told me all week before the Belt game, my arm's broke, Dad. My legs aren't broke.
Jace ran for 2 touchdowns in the win over Belt, despite only playing in 1 quarter. It looks like for the rest of the season, the Longhorns won't just be getting touchdowns from him, they'll also be getting some extra heart.